All right, so to start with, let's create our project. Good place to start. So we have our handy template folder here. We're just going to copy it and paste it. And I'm going to rename it. So infinite-scroll, enter. And while we're at it, we can copy our loader into our infinite scroll folder as well, and then open it in Visual Studio Code. Okay, so once we have it loaded up in Visual Studio Code, we can open up our files here. And we're going to start with the index.html. We'll start by changing our title here. We're going to call it Infinite Scroll. We can use our Alt-Z word wrap, and we can remove our font awesome because we're not going to be needing it for this project. And we're going to save that and use our trusty live server here. We're going to click Go Live. And you can see we have our project loaded. We have our title up here. Nothing yet to show, but that's good. It's running. So the next step is I like adding Google Fonts to most of my projects because I feel like it gives them a unique feel, and it also ensures that it'll always look the same even on different operating systems. So we can see we're at the site here. It's just fonts.google.com. I'll provide the link within the course. Something that I personally like to do when I'm trying to make a title for a site is I can actually change this to be custom, and you can see we have our sample text here, but I'm actually going to change it to be the title that we want. So I can type that in, and we can see that now it's previewing every font with that specific text. I've personally found that that's the best way to choose a font. So I personally know what font I want already, so I'm going to change this to Babas New. So whenever you find a font that you like, you're going to click on it. And then over here, we're going to select this style, and we're going to embed, and we're going to copy the import statement. So let's highlight that and copy that, and we can jump back to our code. So at the top of our CSS file, we're going to add that in. And we're also going to update the body to add font-family, and we're going to add our font here, Babas New, comma, sans-serif. So I always like adding a backup just in case our Google font doesn't load for whatever reason. So let's test this out. In our HTML, we're going to add in an H1. So we can comment out a quick title here called title, and we'll pass in our H1. So I can just type H1 and then tab thanks to the autocomplete within Visual Studio Code. And I'm going to write out the title, Unsplash API -infinite scroll. Okay, so let's save that, and we'll save our other file as well. And let's jump back and check it out. Okay, so we can see that our Google font has loaded. So there's a few things I'm going to change right off the bat. We can see that the background color is white. I've actually started using a color called white smoke instead of white because it pretty much looks white, but it's a little bit easier on the eyes. So let's switch that quickly and spot the difference here. Background, so white smoke. And save that, jump back. So you can see it's a little bit grayer compared to the white right here. So you can see it's mostly white, but a little bit easier on the eyes. Okay, so now onto the H1 styling. I want it to be centered, and I want to have an even margin on the top and bottom compared to the image that's going to go below it. And the other thing I'm going to show you is a neat trick called letter spacing that can actually make a custom font even more unique. Let's jump back to the code, and below this, we're going to start styling our H1. So first thing, we're going to use text align. You can see it auto-completes here. I'm just going to press enter, and center is the first choice, which is what I want. I'm going to press enter again. And then below that, I'm going to add a margin top of 25 pixels, margin bottom 15 pixels, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, font size 40 pixels, and I'm also going to change the letter dash spacing to be 5 pixels. So this works for the font that I've chosen, but you might need to have a little bit of different styling depending on the original size that your font is. So let's save that and jump back. Okay, so to me, that looks a lot better. So I'm going to actually just show you the difference here. If I right-click and inspect, and I'm going to select, I'll actually show you the difference with white smoke as well while I'm here. So you can see that's white, and that's white smoke, white, white smoke. So I think it's a little easier on the eyes. And now I'm going to use the selector and I'm going to select our H1 and I'm going to turn off letter spacing. So you can see everything's kind of crammed together, and with the 5-pixel letter spacing, it looks a little bit better. Okay, so the next thing is we're going to integrate our loader into our project. So we're going to jump back into our HTML, and below our title here, we're going to comment out another title for our loader. And we're going to create a div with the class and ID of loader. So div.loader, #loader, and I'm going to press enter. So you see it created our div for us. And then inside of this, I'm going to create an image element. So image, press enter. And the source is going to be, you can see as soon as I typed L, it's auto-completing because it's telling that this file is in the same folder. Just press enter, have it autocomplete. And for our alt property, we will type in loading. Okay, so we can save that and check it out. And yeah, we have our icon within our project now, but we're going to need to do a little bit of styling. So we want to have an opaque background. So a background that you can kind of see through, but it kind of blocks everything out on the entire page. And we want to center this loading icon in the vertical and horizontal center of the page. So let's jump back to our CSS and start taking care of that. Okay, so below our H1 here, we will comment out a title for our loader. And we will start with the class loader. And we're going to make it position fixed. So we don't want it to move, even if the user is scrolling on the page. And we're going to use a little trick here to make it extend over the entire page. So we're going to use top, bottom, left, and right are all going to be 0. So they're all pulling from their own respective corners. And then lastly, we're going to add a background RGBA. So we're including an alpha value. In this case, it's going to be white. So 255, 255, 255. And then I'm going to control the opacity. I'm going to make it 0.8. Okay, add the semicolon there. And let's save that and check it out. Okay, so we can see that our opacity is working, and we can actually see that our loader has switched positions here. It was a little lower down before. So we're part of the way there. The next part is going to be to actually center the loader right in the middle here. So let's do that. Jump back to our CSS. In this case, we're actually going to be targeting loader image. So that means we're targeting an image that is a child of the class loader. So we also want position fixed because we want it to stay in the center even if someone is scrolling. And then the trick here for making this work is we're going to give it a top of 50%, so 50% from the top, and then 50% from the left, and then transform, translate, and then minus 50%, comma, minus 50%. So that's the X and Y axis. So I'm going to save that and then show you in the DevTools why we're doing it this way. So save that and jump back. So you can see that it is in fact working. That's exactly what we want. It's in the center. But if we open up our DevTools, I'll give a little bit more of an explanation. So if we scroll up here, we can see that we have our loader. I want to actually select the image part. So we just click on it with our selector here. And if I were to remove this, transform, translate, you can see that the top left worked, but the top left is actually, the top left of the picture is in the center. But we want this whole thing to be centered regardless of the size of this. So that is how this transform, translate is accounting for centering the image within the center of the page. So that's what we've done here. Okay, that's pretty much it for our loader. And we're going to come back to it later in our JavaScript when we actually want to introduce it. But for now, while we're building out the rest of our styling for our page, we're actually going to keep it hidden. So we can do this very easily in our HTML. And we're just going to, within this div, type hidden to provide the hidden attribute. And we can save that and check it out. And you can see that our loader is gone and the background is gone as well. All right, I think we've done enough setup for one video. In the next one, we're going to look at how we're going to style our image grid with a test image in order to perfect that part of the design. I'll see you in that one. Bye for now.